Welcome to ENG 101 7-week online asynchronous. I'm your instructor, Christina Terabikis, and I'm going to be your host, your teacher for the next 7 weeks. This course is really designed to help you through your English journey. It's a great composition course that takes us through 3 different essays and really learning and applying the writing process as we go along. Now, 3 essays in 7 weeks sounds like a lot, but what we do is break it on down and we chunk it all together. And as long as you're following along and doing the work, you're going to be just fine. So let's get started and see what it means to be in an 011-101 course. Okay, so if we take a look, this is our homepage for ENG 101. And then this is our homepage for ENG 011. See how it's just a little bit different. What this course means is that you're going to be working primarily in the ENG 101 course in order to receive your credit and in order to be ready to go through to English 102 once you're done with all of this. But the ENG 011 course, okay, is going to be set up exactly the same way and is going to just give you a little bit of extra oomph and a little bit of a couple more extra steps to get you where you need to be. So in English 101, this is where we're going to be, again, working primarily. But then English 011, you will be submitting assignments into English 011 as well, or English 11, we also call it. But as we move forward, we're going to be taking all of the work that we do in English 11 and just, boom, popping it into some of the assignments in English 101. One of the things that I wanted to share with you as we move along, and there is another video that shows you how to navigate the course, but let's just take a look to see what it's all really going to look like. Okay, in English 101, this is our course schedule. What you're going to notice is that our course schedule is set up so that it has everything that you need to do in the English 101 course, okay, here. Any reading, any information that you're going to need. Everything that is listed in this column here is what the expectation is and what all of the assignments over here are based upon, okay? So what I would do is I would not jump right to the assignments, but instead I would make sure that I go through each of these bullet points and each of these ideas first before I get started then on my assignments, okay? You'll get used to it as you go. In our course, it really is an online course. So what we usually typically do is we spend almost 6 hours in the classroom per week. So the expectation is in a 7-week class, you should be spending at least an hour a day or 6 to 7 hours a week on the course material. My suggestion would be really to do it an hour a day so that you're not bogged down with a lot of information. But whatever works for you, make sure that you set up your time management, okay? What I have then for you is this. Now that we know that we need to complete all of the things in this section before we get started on our assignments, your assignments are listed as the day and per the class. So sometimes we have our assignments for English 11 due on Mondays and Thursdays. This is because we want to get feedback back before anything is due for English 101 on Wednesdays and Sundays, okay? So you might have something due on Monday that I'll give you some feedback on, and then you can use that assignment in order to create whatever it is that you need for something due on Wednesday. A checkpoint 1 is due on Thursday, so that means whatever we do in this checkpoint, you are then going to be using it for one of these assignments, excuse me, for English 101, okay? So that's the way that it's broken down. We go through all of the week materials here beforehand. Then we go through the materials day by day, okay, in order to complete our assignments. As we move forward through the class, what you're going to notice is that all of these assignments build upon each assignment, okay? So whatever you're doing in annotation, you will be using then for paraphrase, and you will be using for your summary response essay. So that very first assignment, you're going to notice that it's going to be used over here for a really big essay assignment, okay? So all of this information, we go through the writing process, meaning that we plan, we start to plan some more, we draft a little bit, we get some feedback, and then we complete our assignments. We do that 3 times in this class. So if you get a little bit nervous and a little bit overwhelmed with the amount of assignments, it's okay. We chunk them up so that they are very, very small, and that by the time you get down to the next essay, you will have pretty much written it already and already gotten feedback back throughout those 2 or 3 weeks that we're working on it, okay? So that's the way that the course functions. The other thing that I wanted to share with you is the other thing that you're definitely going to need as we move forward. The next thing that you want to make sure that you're taking a look at is if you go here into course content, you're going to notice that there's a lot of information here before we get to the weekly modules, which is basically your class, right? So if you're not looking at the weekly modules, it means you're basically not attending class. So make sure that you're going through these. But up here, I wanted to show you these 4 little areas. One is the Start Here section. In Start Here, you're going to notice that you have your course schedule linked, my information, the way that you should email me, our course orientation video that you're watching now, our policies and expectations, syllabus, and then our points, okay? Down here is your first assignment, and then you can take a look at the other information that we've provided you. In this class, we try to give you as much information as possible so that if you're like, oh my God, can I turn in this assignment? Well, you don't have to wait for me to get back to you. You can go right in here into the course policies and expectations, and you can learn about what our late policy is, okay? So you don't have to email me and be like, Miss T, oh my God, it's a day late. Can I turn it in? Can you? You probably can, because it tells you what our late work information is here, okay? Another thing that I wanted to share with you, if we go back to our table of contents, is the APA resources. Now, this is an area, we use APA in this course, so I made sure that we have step-by-step videos and a references guide that you can use throughout the semester. It's not a one-and-done section, right? APA, we're constantly learning and constantly looking at. Even I don't know APA by memorized or by heart. That's what I wanted to say. But essentially, you want to be able to use these guides throughout the entire APA process, and we'll be looking at that a little bit later on. You also have an entire area of sample assignments. So these are linked in the assignment directions themselves, but you can also come here to kind of take a look to see what the expectations are for the assignment. Now, this particular area it gives you the article that all of these assignments are based upon. This is not the article we are using for our course, but essentially what you're going to be looking at is you can read this article if you like, and then see how all of the assignments change as they are based upon the article, okay? You don't have to read this article. It's just there for your reference. But all of these samples are there for you so that you know what the expectations are for your assignment. All right. The most important thing is really, what are my course readings? What you'll notice is that we have a reading 1 and a reading 2 in this class. Reading 3 we'll talk about a little bit later. That's something we're not going to deal with until week 5. But essentially, for the first 2 weeks, you are going to be working on this reading here. So what you'll do, you have a direct link to the reading, and then you have a direct link to your article. You can make a copy of this. It's a Google Doc. And essentially, when you go to make your copy, you're going to have to open it in your browser. But when you go in, what you're going to notice is it actually even tells you when you're going to be using this particular article. We're going to start with this reading number 1, and we're going to go all the way through the first 2 weeks. All of the assignments for the first 2 weeks will be based on this article. Then when we get to week 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, we are only going to be using reading number 2. Okay, so I may refer back to reading 1 every now and then, but this is the article that we will be using for the last few weeks of the semester. Okay? Other things that I wanted to share with you are the following. One is taking a look at my instructor information. I am here for you. So if you click on instructor information in the Start Here area, or even right here where it says contact your instructor, you can get a hold of me pretty much at any time. So you have my campus location at Owens campus. You have my email, which is my primary form of communication. You have a Zoom link in case that we make a meeting, we decide to meet together. This is my Zoom link, so you can kind of get me there and we can just talk face-to-face through whatever you need. You can actually call me or text me on this number. This is my Google Voice number. If I don't get back to you right away, please make sure you email me to make sure that I got it. You know, technology is great until it doesn't work. So sometimes the Google is a little wonky, but you can actually text me your questions should you need anything, okay? Sometimes it's hard in an online class when you aren't able to see the instructor, so I make sure to be as available as possible for you. These are my student hours for the semester, so this is when I'm in my office and I'm able to really meet with you. And you can also book an appointment this way. If these times don't work for you, shoot me an email, shoot me a text, be like, hey, Miss T, can we meet? And I will make sure that we take care of that for you. Okay. The last thing that I wanted to share was where the ENG 011 course fits in. So essentially, when you're working through the course, you want to make sure that you're understanding all of the information in our Content in English 101, and then moving in to see what other information you might need that's going to help you throughout English 11, okay? And so moving between the two courses, I'm going to try to make it as easy as possible for you, but essentially you'll be using this course as your primary focus, and then the English 11 as your support. So whatever other information you might need to help yourself to get the best grades and be as successful as possible. So this is part 1. This is just your introduction to the course. Let's move on to the part 2 video where I actually show you how to move through the course and where to find a few other items that you're definitely going to need in order to be able to learn all the material that you need to be successful. All right, hang on for part 2.